Look, most $5 bills are only worth $5, but the ones in this video sold for thousands of dollars, and most of the time it's the smallest little detail that you need to pay attention to make sure that you don't miss any one of these rare $5 bills. Let's just hop right into this video. So up first, we have this $5 bill that sold for $7,475, and that's because this is a 1928D $5 bill. Now, the first thing you need to know is that 1928 was the first year they started producing small size Federal Reserve notes just like this one. Now I'm going to go over a few reasons why this one sold for $7,475. One area you need to look out for is the left hand side of the bill. You're going to see a large district letter. You can see there's an F in this instance. That letter is also going to be at the start of the serial number. You can see that they're both F. Now if those two letters are different, that could be very rare. Also, you can see 4 number 6s around the bill. Those are the district number. This district is Atlanta. How that typically works is, if you haven't put 2 and 2 together yet, F is the 6th letter in the alphabet. Now, if that F was an A, instead there'd be 1s instead of 6s. If it was a B, there'd be 2s. If there's a C, there'd be 3s, etc. Make sure that that letter and number always matches, because there is a probability that where they produce these bills, they make an error, and that would be incredibly rare. Next, we have to understand that depending on how many banknotes were produced for a specific series will dictate how many are out there and how much they're going to be worth. It all really comes down to supply and demand. This specific series is pretty rare. This banknote was graded at a PMG extremely fine 40, which means there is multiple folds in the bill, which is my next point of the better the condition the bill is in, the more money it's generally going to be worth. For example, if this bill was to grade at a uncirculated 64, meaning no folds whatsoever, it would have brought a lot more money than $7,475. One last thing I'll say is that this is a light green seal, as you can see by the annotation by the grader on the back of the note. Typically, the seal on the right hand side of the bill and the serial numbers are going to be a darker green color. Light green seals are harder to come by, and if you have one, they can be really rare because this one sold for $7,475. I won't spend too much time on this one, but really quick, a few things. One, this graded at a 65 APQ, so much higher than the previous one. Two, you can see this one is also a light green seal, but the biggest thing on this one is it's a 1928C. This is a tougher series to come by. So if you have a 1928C, it's in good condition and it's from Atlanta, there's a probability that you have a really rare $5 bill because this one sold for $26,450. All right, so this bill sold for $6,600. Now, what I want to show you here is the back plate number located right here. Pretty much what that number is an internal number for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, where they print these bills, pretty much to say where the back plate is located on the printing plates. This is something that we don't really need to worry about unless it's a mule note. A mule note is when they use the wrong back and the wrong front of a bill. Now, for the most part, on modern bills, anything from the year 2000 and present, and yes, that is considered modern for paper money, is going to be less likely to have errors simply because the quality control process, the machines that they have are much more high tech than they used to be. So mule notes are harder to come by, but it is still possible. If you want to make sure you don't miss any rare mule note error that's worth a lot of money, subscribe because I put out videos every single day. One way to tell if you have a mule note is if the number on the back of the bill is a different size than the front plate number. That's just one way, but it's again very unlikely on a modern bill. But why did this bill sell for $6,600? There's two main reasons. One, this is a star note. So you can see at the end of the serial number or the suffix, there is a star. Now, to keep a long story short, star notes occur when they are printing sheets of these bills. Sometimes there's an error during the printing process, and a quality control manager will spot the error and destroy that sheet. Now, instead of producing a new sheet of bills with the same serial number, they produce a new sheet with star notes. They do this because they want to avoid anyone stealing, and also they need to make sure they're producing the correct amount of bills. So if you see a star, that means that there is originally a sheet that got destroyed because of an error. That, in combination with the fact that this hit the perfect grade of 70, allowed this bill to sell for $6,600. Really quick, how do you get 70? Well, first of all, just know it's really hard to get, but the main way you get 70 is if you see the margins of the bill around pretty much the white border on the front and the back of the bill, that has to be centered perfectly. That means it needs to measure identically all around the bill. Then a grader needs to look at the bill and say, okay, there is no folds, no damage. The bill is perfectly centered. It has good eye appeal, and then it gets the 70 grade. Really hard, but it is possible. I'll spend just 20 seconds here. This is a real $5 bill that sold for $180,000. Essentially, this is a national gold banknote from Sacramento. Sacramento, California. It was produced in 1872, so an incredibly rare old bill. If you come across one in any condition, it's going to be very rare and valuable. Again, this one sold for $180,000. I won't spend too much time here, but this one sold for $9,400. And pretty much it comes down to two things. First of all, it is a high graded bill, and second of all, it is a serial number 1. Now, one area you really need to pay attention to here is if you look closely at the front plate number of your bill. On the left-hand side, you just see a small letter A, but on the right hand of the bill, you're going to see a small letter A, and then before that, you'll see a little FW. FW means Fort Worth, where this bill was produced. Now, if your bill does not have FW anywhere on it near the plate position on the front, that means it was produced at the Washington, D.C. facility. Now, that can play a significant factor when it comes to the value of these bills, depending on how many were produced at that specific facility. In this situation, it doesn't matter because it's a serial number 1, and that's what the people are paying for. And it's why it sold for $9,400. Again, a brief explanation. This $5 bill is indeed genuine, and it sold for $282,000. This is an 1890 treasury note. Again, even in a very low graded condition, it would still be worth a lot of money. I love old, large size paper money like this. I mean, just look at the artwork that goes into it. Look at the back design. It's beautiful. Again, $282,000 for this $5 bill that graded by PMG at a 66 EPQ, but let's go to the next one. So I need to spend a little bit of time here describing why this $5 bill sold for $10,350. So as we know before, we looked at the numbers around the bill, the district number. You can see this one is 9. That correlates with the prefix letter of an I. So that's good. Again, for those two to be different is slim to none, but it is possible. So really quick, it's important to know that 1928 was the first year they produced these small sized $5 bills. What you need to know is that typically the district seal on the left-hand side, that large number 9, is almost always going to be a letter and not a number. This is what collectors call a numeral type bill. Now, numeral type bills are worth a lot more money generally than the non-numeral type bills. That's simply because there are less of them produced, so there is more demand and less supply. It's hard to get this high of a grade in a bill like this, but someone achieved it, which allowed it to sell for $10,350. Really quick, this one sold for $115,000. Again, a genuine large size bill. This is a 1914 $5 bill, Federal Reserve note. And the reason why it sold for so much money is because this is a serial number 1. So first of all, this grade in general is really hard to come by in something this old. And the fact that this was the first note produced on a sheet is just mind-blowing. It's so hard to see something like this in the wild. But if you come across a collection and you have a bill like this, even if it's not a serial number 1, it's going to be worth good money because this one sold for $115,000. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll definitely enjoy the video on the screen. Click on that video and I'll see you inside.